was thinking about recording the conversation with, I don't know, the secretary for the public defender office, but I didn't. She wasn't very helpful. It sounds like, well, she asked me if I got the letter, and I'm like, no, I'm homeless. You know, I tried to pass on the address of their office, the public defender office, as my address. But either way, regardless of whether you get letters or not, that same information is found in the Idaho Repository anyway. I don't need a paper letter. These people work anachrostically, I think. They could probably modernize a little bit better. That's probably why the court system is so expensive and the fines are so high, is because they're still mailing pieces of paper back and forth with each other. But I had a few questions for her. I asked her when I could talk to the public defender. And she's like, well, there's people before you. There's like 100 people before you. So it's going to be a couple of weeks. All right. It's going to be a couple of weeks before I have an assigned public defender. I had the approval, and they have that recognized, but get a public defender assigned now, it's going to be a couple of weeks. And so I asked, well, maybe what if I do some stuff on my own while I'm waiting? And she's like, well, if you want to represent yourself, you have to let them know. And I'm like, well, no, I don't want to represent myself. I'm waiting a couple of weeks here. Maybe I could do a little bit on my own while I'm waiting. You know, I'm sitting in line. Maybe I could do some stuff while I'm waiting in line. And she said that the judge would probably frown on this, and it would make the judge angry or something. You know, the judge would defer me to the public defender. Maybe just hold off on my paperwork and defer that to the public defender whenever I get one. But I was asking this girl, could I look at examples? I was like, can I look at the work they do? Because these public defenders will do a motion for discovery. And I asked, could I look at that? And she's like, yeah. And then I asked if I could look at any examples of that, of other people. And she's like, nope, you can't look at other people's files. I told her, you know, I got the paperwork from the clerk of courts, and the clerk of clerks briefly showed me an example. I wish I could have recorded that example. And you know, I don't want to take anybody's file. Just want to look at it, just get an idea of these examples of motion for discovery. She said that the public defenders write a 2-page motion for discovery. A 2-page. All I'm interested in is a police report, but they make a 2-page motion for discovery as a standard. And where do you find examples of this? Man, that's the thing. What makes the lawyers so elite is that they hide their motion for discoveries. I don't see any on the internet. I don't see any anywhere. Nobody can tell me about them. Just the closest I got to a good example of a motion for discovery is that little flash that clerk of court showed me. Just a little flash of one, and it's a full page, and it's a lot of words. I don't know how that's all arranged. You know, I could go to the legal library, but they'll just have a list of rules of things you can and cannot say. That doesn't tell me anything. I want to see examples. You could blank out the details. I just want to see examples of these motion for discoveries. But that's what makes the legal career so elite, is because they're hiding their work. They're protecting their work, copyright maybe, or something. So that's difficult. I asked, I think I mentioned this. I asked if I could make something and then have them proofread it, and she's like, no. You need to hire somebody or whatnot. You know, the judge would frown on that if I were to turn it in without the lawyer looking at it. But my pre-trial is in a month, and if I don't get a lawyer for 2 weeks, then they have 2 weeks preparation, and there's a lot of response times and motion to file times that you got to consider. And 2 weeks is really short notice as far as I understand. So I'm going to dig a little bit more for these motion of discoveries. You know, most basic thing you could write, it seems.